And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Well, good evening. Hello, good morning, honey. Good afternoon. I fell asleep for so long, I don't even know what day it is. Welcome to 100 Watts and a Wire. It's Christian, my call signs. Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel. And I am joined today by, look at him here. You talk about spoiled. Let me go away for 3 weeks. Screw you guys. I'm taking my ball, my mic, my glasses, and I'm going home. And Sidecar Steve is back to everybody's happiness. We feel whole again. W7UDI, welcome back.
Pool boy is back.
Pool boy. You went out there to be a well-paid pool boy? I've heard of midlife crises, but never I'm going out to such and place and
Kansas.
whatnot. You went to Kansas to be a pool boy. Boy, she must have been cute.
It's everybody's dream, right?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas is all right. There's some good some farmland, I suppose, out there that you could get yourself wrapped up in, and kind of flat, but
yeah.
you know. Well,
But the trip started, we ended up in Flagstaff, Arizona for a couple of days and dealt with the car issues, but we just adapted, overcome, and did a pub crawl. We just went from one brew pub to the next all day Monday in
That's
Flagstaff, so it was a good day.
that's awesome. Episode 368. We've got Sidecar here. We've got Scotty here. He's KC3 BXN. And man, you talk about a whirlwind for Scotty. Scotty just is sort of like, he meets the sea child. The next thing you know, he's got all these things. He's producing in the background. He's hanging out. Another show I'm working on. I'm like, Scotty, come on, get the stuff. Come on, let's go. But welcome, Scotty, and thank you for holding it down while Sidecar was off there doing the pool lady. I mean, cleaning off the pool. Or whatever he was doing. He's cleaning. The owner said, oh, hey, pool boy, can you fix my wife for me? I mean, fix that filter.
Pool boy?
Oh, pool boy. Well, we all know what that is.
Dynamite!
Dynamite, Steve-O.
Dynamite! Woo!
There you go. 100 Watts and Wire. See, it features the intersection of life and amateur radio. In this episode, Steve doesn't even know. But we're going to have a good time with it because we're going to talk about a little bit about 13 Colonies, but 13 Colonies is just the backdrop of why we're going to talk about this stuff today. It's going to be QRM, Steve-O. And I'm not going to let you take the high road. We're going to talk about douchebaggery. What is douchebaggery, and why are there alpha hotels? Why? And is there anything that we can do about it? And it came up pretty innocent enough, Steve. Everybody was rocking and rolling with the 13 Colonies. Excited. We created a 13 Colonies channel in Discord, and people were really digging it. You know, we're going in there, lots of spots, you know, all that sort of stuff. Talking about it, where are they? And people were celebrating. You'll be happy to know that Uncle Paul pulled them out one at a time. They hit the table, and he pulled the second one out, hit the table, and he was done in like 15 minutes. Scotty and I were working on the Friday it started, and by noon he was like, yeah, I think I need like 2 more.
I'm done.
November 2 Hotel, Yankee Golf. You're 5'9", girl, yeah.
Thanks for the clean sweep before lunch.
Queensley, I got everything posted and ready
Plus
to go.
the bonus station.
Watch me I got the bonus
All
station.
three bonuses.
Not a problem. And most of the bands, I think. I'm going to do digital later. I don't know. But I'm going to start licking some stamps and take a nap. It's kind of like, wow, it's like noon, you know. But we had a good time. We were talking about this event. Many people like its favorites, you know, Route 66, 13 Colonies. The one at Christmas time is a big one, or the 12 Days of Christmas because it leads in. And there's many others that we like. The ships, the battleships, the museums, that's all cool. But what became a theme was kind of these alpha hotels and their working, the way they worked. And I'm going to warn the guys here and you guys at home. This has been balanced, leveled. So they're going to come out equal, right? But it's a little tone that I don't like in my head as much. I just want to let you guys know. Play this, about 30 seconds long. Pastor Joe sent this in. He was all riled up. Got him all riled up because why do they do that? Why do they have to do this? This was but then it became a kind of a theme across all of our social media that, people had a good time, but this and this. And I just want to play this back for you. Just a quick warning to our audio listeners that this is a little bit of a tone that's not as pleasant to hear, but you'll get an idea what was going on at some times during 13 colonies.
Kilo Mike 4 Whiskey Bravo 4 India Tango.
Brutal. It is brutal. It's douchebaggery at its best, if you ask me. Okay, that's pretty good. We'll wind up. There we go. But anyway, he sent that in. I said, he said it would be a good topic. I was like, yeah, it would be a good topic. And then I started posting up on our Facebook, about how people did their struggles. And one after the next, it's like the QRM. So I thought, Steve, we would give it, I'm going to shut my yapper, and I'm going to let you at least describe what QRM is. We got a lot of Q speak, and we know we get a lot of new people coming into the hobby, and we say these things, we don't always explain them. Can you talk a little bit about QRM, what it is, and then we can kind of go from there?
Okay, so QRM is, all our Q codes date back to when CW was king, and the hobby started. So there's QRM, which is basically man-made noise or man-made interference. So a lot of it in the beginning was signal was not clean. It was QRM, it was man-made noise and interference. Well, it turned around, and as people started jamming, and that's what they're doing, they're just trying to jam and interfere with the QSO or the operation that's going on, it kind of got melded into QRM. Now you know QRN, as in Nancy, that's naturally made noise and like lightning and static and a few other odds and ends. But QRM is just a really nice way to say that we got a douchebag on the air that's causing interference.
Why, these are very esoteric questions, and I think we did a show not too long ago, maybe in the spring, about mental health. But I don't know why people do it, right? And people want to know, why do people do this? Why would you do that? It's like, oh, why is that person standing out on the corner with whatever? It's really hard to explain. I imagine it's about getting attention, like the band police thing. What I would hear, I'm with you, Steve, because you were on the road. I had nothing. I filled out my little sheet here, but did not get a chance to work the stations this time around. But I listened, and I would spot things, and you hear the band police. The station in the Great Britain was a hot one. He was working split for a while. He was going by the numbers for a while. And you always have the people who don't listen. They're just like, he's working 5 up. And then next thing you know, that you hear this, they're calling again. K0STH, 0 station, he's working 10 up or whatever it is. And, so there's a problem in the technique. No one's listening. And then you got the band police who become total douches when they've had enough of policing.
And they become part of the QRM. Even though they think they're doing right, and we've all been... I've listened to DX stations operating split. This is common. You got the band police in there, and someone keeps calling on the DX's transmit frequency, and they don't know. They don't understand what 5 up or up or 5 to 15. They don't know, and so these self-appointed band cops go in there and start chastising these people, and if it's like 5 up or something really quick. That could be kind of helpful, but when they turn around and just start chastising them, and then they're covering the station that that we all want to work, whether it's 13 colonies or DX, and they're contributing to the problem. Personally, I think it comes back to the operator that is operating or running the split, and he needs to be a little more forthcoming with it. To make an assumption that seasoned operators, you just said we're up 5, and they assume everybody knows, but they don't, and then and then you have the band police. The other guys, they're dealing with a small, and that's what's causing a lot of the issues there. Woo!
So you're saying there's a little bit of a Napoleon complex or a small thing going on there, something wrong.
Trying to compensate.
Scotty, what do you make of this? You got into it, from what I gather, you got in a little bit early, got a couple here and there, got later on in the weekend, then you heated up a little bit. What do you make of this situation? What did you experience?
Yeah, I mean, I had a good time. Got into it as soon as I got home from work Friday. Made 2 of the bonus stations the first day, the Philly station and the France station, TM13, both on voice, which was a first for me. And then throughout the course of the rest of the event, got everybody except Great Britain on voice. And at that point, I was determined I'm going to get a clean sweep of all colonies and all bonus stations, all in the same mode, which would be a total first time for me on both those fronts. And so I was hanging on the Great Britain station quite a bit, and was hearing the mess that was going on. And yeah, he was trying to work split, and he was clearly saying, up 5 to 10, up 5 to 10, Golf Bravo 13, up 5 to 10, up 5 to 10, and then all these people would start throwing out their call signs. It's like, and then the band police would come in, as Steve was saying, so he's up 5, he's listening up 5, he's listening up 10, and it was a good experience for me because I'd never really tried to work a DX type station in split before, so that was cool. So I had to get my A and B VFOs going, and I got it worked out, and I was calling and having a good old time trying to get a hold of them. But then you have these stations just calling over and over and over and over and over again. One guy, even, I forget his call now, and this, me and Joe were talking about him in the Discord. Just kept throwing out his call. He had a big signal too. Putting out his call, he's like, "I'll go away if you acknowledge me," and just throwing out his call over and over and over again. It's like, dude.
The problem is the guy wouldn't hear him if he kept,
Right.
calling on his transmit frequency.
Jeff, in our group, he wrote and said he's Kilo Alpha 1 Delta Bravo Echo. He said he worked them all on CW except GB13 COL, which he worked on sideband. His only frustration was the stations sending their call over and over. I'm surprised the GB station put up with that. And he says the colony stations need to know when and how to use split. You want to explain what split is, Steve, in case we get some newer ham coming in wondering what that means?
So split is typically you're transmitting on one frequency. So normally we transmit and receive on the same frequency. So we run in a simplex mode. So what ends up happening is when you have a huge pileup, what you can do is you can split your transmit and receive. And so you take and you will receive 5 kilohertz up from your transmit signal. So let's pick an easy frequency, 14260. And you're going to transmit on that. But you're going to listen on 14265. So you want everybody to transmit over there. So all of us seekers, as like, Parks on the Air, this can apply to Parks on the Air. If you're going to have a lot of, people, calling on you, it's one of these options you have is to split your operation. So you transmit on 14260 and you listen on 14265. Us out looking for the desired station, we're going to transmit on 14265 and listen on 14260. So the way to set that up is you set up your VFOs, your A and B VFOs. You put the radio into a split mode, and then so you basically, I'm going to listen on VFO A. 14260. I'm going to transmit on VFO B, and then when you transmit, your radio switches over to VFO B and then transmits on 14265. The contest, the special event station, the DX station will be doing the same thing, but in an opposite. So, and another thing they end up doing is if there's a really big pile up, because then they're having a hard time picking out calls, then they'll spread it out, and then they'll listen from 5 to 10 up, and sometimes 15 up. So that way everybody spreads out, and then he just kind of tunes his radio and goes, "Oh, there's a call," and then he, responds to that, and you hear it. The problem becomes is that not knowing that they're running split, you just transmit on their transmit frequency, and they won't hear you because they're not listening there. I have done that. I have made the mistake, forgot to put my radio into split, and I was transmitting, calling a DX station, and someone said 5 up, and it's like, oh yeah, I screwed up. And it happens to all of us. I've done it unintentionally, but it happens. So you got to be mindful and know your equipment, know your radios. If you don't know how to put it in split, grab the manual. It will tell you how to do it. Most radios are capable of doing. Modern radios will do splits easy.
I'll go ahead and confess. I've done this too. I was impatient. I wasn't listening. I've done it in the past. I didn't do it in this contest, but I have done it in my life. And if you guys have done that, give us a thumbs up or a like and tell the algorithm that you dig it too. Scotty, have you made this mistake?
I did for the 13 colonies. I saw him spotted on DX Summit on the frequency that he was calling on, and I immediately went there and just started throwing out my call. And then I started hearing he's up 5, guys, he's up 5. And I was like, I know what that means. Let me figure this out on my radio, because I never really set it up for split before. But it was easy to set up, and it was, once I got into the groove of using it, it was actually pretty cool, and I could see the benefit of doing that when there's a lot of stations involved.
We call them the band police when those guys are the ones that are saying he's working split, but then they get so frustrated because it's constant, and you can just tell that they've had enough of telling us that it's happening. But I haven't done it. It's a sad, sick feeling when you do it. It's so luckily I haven't gotten like dumbass, like there's some real, when they get frustrated, they will lay you out, and that probably feels where I just said thanks. Thank you. That's Kilo 8 Sierra. Sorry, thank you. Bye. I think that's one of those ones where we all make that mistake. We get so ambitious or anxious to go in there and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we get caught up in the moment, and that's one of the drawbacks of that, having like a DX cluster in your software, in your logging software, that if you click on that post, your radio will tune over there, but the software doesn't, even though it'll say listening 5 up or QRX 5 to 10, the radio doesn't know that, and the software doesn't know that, so it's not going to set your radio up into a split mode, and you go over there, oh, I hear the guy, boom, and you start transmitting, and then realize, oh, shoot, I effed up.
Old Rick says he didn't give his call sign here. No, he didn't. But he said, I was very frustrated with the number of ignorant, impatient operators being my first year on HF. How normal is this? I've worked the armed forces and museum ship events without hearing this level of, quote, moron ship. Jeff replied and said he had looked these people up. He would look them up just to see who they were, because, So we're talking about something with working split. There's another issue about, say they're not working split at all. And when you're just constantly calling, you don't ever hear what station they pick up. So you're constantly, talking over the conversation, you're talking through, like you're not helping yourself. And I don't know why people do that.
I mean, especially if it's the station is kind of weak to begin with, and you just got you got stations just calling just right in the middle of the QSO that's happening, right on top of the station that they're trying to contact, just over and over and over. They're not listening. They just incessantly putting their call out constantly.
It happens all the time.
Man,
it's
how can you even hear anything?
It's the same thing if you're having a QSO, just a drag chew with. Here's an example. One night I had a rag chew with a station in the South Pacific. He ended up calling me, and swung the beam around down to the South Pacific, and we had a nice 20-minute QSO. He just wanted to wreck you. And throughout the whole course of that conversation that we had, I kept hearing people jumping in, throwing in their calls, and he didn't respond to it, so I didn't respond to it. We just kind of kept on going back and forth, but it got to the point where he was so frustrated that these people were jumping in. He goes, "Hey, Steve, I'm done. I had it. No one's listening." Yeah, he goes, "I'd be more than willing to have a rag chew with these people, but I can't take it anymore." And he shut down for the night, and because people are impatient. And oh my God, there's this guy. He's on the south tip of South Georgia Island or whatever, and he won't be here next week. And it's like, I got to get him. And it's like, if you don't get him, it's okay. They'll be back.
Not the end of
it's not the end of the world. And it's just, it's both ignorance and just, impatience. And it's been going on. And for, what was that, Jeff or whoever, the one that the first time they encountered this has been going on for a long time. And it normally happens with big events, whether it's a rare DX expedition or DX station, or a special event like 13 colonies. You're going to probably see it and hear it in with Route 66. It's unfortunate. This is where our hobby has come to, and it's just, if everyone just kind of slow down and take it easy and remember this is a hobby, everything will be fine. And if you don't get them and you don't work them, okay, it is what it is, and move on. But
all right,
yeah,
I was noticing some alpha hotels in the spotting on page, like on DX Summit. People would be, they'd call out GB13 or somebody and be, just make rude comments in the info box that you can put in there about, where are you, and blah blah blah, and you need to be on this band, on this mode. And also the amount of bad spots for stations, particularly GB13 on on DX Summit. Just either they're just pranking spots or just being
I may have reposted a couple bad ones. I tried to post what I was hearing for sure, but if I did see them come up on the spotter, I'd put them out. There were some times that were better than others. But we'll pause just a second. We'll come back. We'll talk about maybe some tips on working these and maybe like what it's like to work the other side. But first, it's time for This Week in Radio History. A big one happened today back in 1856, Steve. You and I were just little dudes back then. But you remember what happened. Nikola Tesla was born on this day in 1856. My favorite of all the dudes, the experimenters, the inventors. Scotty's given the point and the thumbs up. Yep. Like for you too, Scotty?
Absolutely. There was a thrill. I was in Niagara Falls to see his little monument and statue that they have of him there at that power plant remnants at Niagara Falls. It was cool. I had Kelly take a bunch of photos of me in front of the Nikola Tesla statue.
Perfect. Kick it. July 10th, 1962, Telstar 1 is launched. It was the satellite that allowed the first live broadcast of television images between the U.S. and Europe. Well, that's a big one. 1962. So a big day in radio history. Just need to remind you, 100 Watts and Wire is brought to you in part by a brand new podcast, Steve-O. I know you know all about Hour 73. Kick it. It looks beyond the first 72 hours. FEMA says, get ready for the first 72 hours, everybody. But we know they may not be coming after 72 hours. That's crazy, lady. You should be ashamed of yourself. Let me finish my sentences before you put me on blast. I'll see you tomorrow in the HR. Crazy lady. We're looking beyond the first 72 hours of preparedness to explore self-reliance as a lifestyle. So subscribe wherever you get podcasts and look us up at hour73.com. Okay, good deal. Oh, Nikola Tesla. One of your favorites, Steve? I mean, this dude was something else, wasn't he? He kind of got taken advantage of by dudes like Edison, I guess, who had the cash at the time to go, that's a very good idea, Mr. Tesla. And had the money to make some things happen. So I think Tesla spent a good bit of time working for some of these wealthy dudes because they had the means. But anyway, all right. There's also some things happening event-wise. Scotty is here to tell us a little bit about what's going to be happening, what's coming up in terms of amateur radio events.
All right, what we got going on here? Next weekend, July 16th and 17th, we have the North American QSO Party RTTY version. If you're into doing some RTTY, and next weekend's going to be busy. Also, that weekend, the CQ Worldwide VHF Contest is happening. I'm looking at you, Uncle Paul, with your 6-meter beam. On July 16th, there's going to be a very rare POTA activation at K3380, which is a Lake Chelan in Washington State. There has never been activated. Chelan, see, I don't know. I'm an East Coast guy.
Shamil, Shamazel. Something up incorporated.
We're going to be activating a little state park here in my little hometown area. Olmsted State Park, and a couple of guys from our local club here are going to activate that on the 16th also. So there'll be,
that's cool.
So there'll be a couple of stations here from state of Washington. So Lake Chelan, that's a cool one.
Yeah, it's like it never been activated apparently, so this is a big deal.
Nice.
All right.
And yeah.
Is that all the Jimmy Jams? All right, good. All right, bring it on down, then.
Back to you, Christian.
That's it. Back in the studio. Let me put my hand on my headphones to make it look official to our listeners. Steve, let's go around and talk about some tips. Or if you want, you can talk about the whole thing. But let's go around. When you're working a special event like this, how about one tip? We'll go around and look. If you're here visiting, we always invite our podcast listeners to join us Sundays at 6 o'clock. You can come into the chat, let us know what's going on, what you're thinking. If you're here as of this recording, put down a couple of your tips for breaking the pileups, for getting in and working these stations over a week-long event. You know, you've got some time to play with. What are some strategies? Let's start with Steve-O. What's a good tip that you would suggest?
Just relax and don't get super frustrated. Just get in there and mix it up. And if you hear, a carrier, so like that audio clip we had, right off the bat, there was just a couple of carriers there, and people figure, well, I'll just throw a carrier down, and that way it will interfere. And the tone will drive everybody nuts, which it does. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can turn on your auto notch filter, or DNF if you have a Yaesu. And that will just kind of notch out that tone. The carrier will still be there. You'll still see the S meter, but you won't hear it, so you won't start freaking out. And then you'll have a tendency to hear the other station a little bit better. Another one is to notch it out in your head and just kind of ignore the tone. But that takes a lot of practice and just concentrate on listening to the voice that you're listening to and ignoring all the other ones. But hitting that auto notch or DNF on your radio is a great tool. I use it a lot, and so that's tip number one.
Scotty, you got a tip of what you were? What do you do?
I'm trying to make the QSO play around. We talked about this with the field day show. The timing of how I'm throwing my call out, listening to pattern to see if I can figure out what the tendency of the calling station is to pick up pick up stations and try to find the timing and get my call in there as well. Plus, I'm a big fan of using the audio DSP to tweak the sound. What I love about the Yaesu is got that contour feature, and I can sweep it, so I can do a peak in the frequency range and kind of sweep up, try to pull out the kind of fundamentals of the voice. Or if there's some weird noise or something, I can use the opposite of that and do like a cut, like an EQ, parametric EQ cut essentially, and sweep that and to try to soften that to make other sounds more legible, so to speak. So yeah, that's my go-to operating procedures.
Maybe I'm not. I've realized that I'm 10 years into it now, and it kind of went really fast, just like everything in life is just going so fast. But, a decade in now, and I don't know how many years on HF. The early mentors told me, and you still hear it from time to time, Steve being in that early group of me and as an influencer in my life and what I do, it was listen, listen, listen. And so there'll be times where I heard so much going on. And then there's that junk that we played here that was submitted by Pastor Joe. You've got the band police they're getting frustrated. They're trying to, and who made them the boss anyway? Just, it might be better for the person trying to realize this and listen. Not just listen to you yell at them, but, I understand why they do it. And sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes, I guess. But, listening was probably the first real thing. It was like, listen more, talk less. And then you kind of, like Scotty said, you hit the cadence of how they're working. And I swear sometimes, guys, I think people are calling and they can't even hear them. It's been so weird that I'm sitting here listening going, why would they keep calling again and again over? Or they're listening to like the SDR or something and there's a delay or whatever it is.
Yeah, latency there.
There's some latency weirdness. I don't even think that you could hear them because there's no way that you're listening. It just, that you're not. You're so far out of the balance of things that you can't be. You just couldn't be. So that one sounds simple, but Steve, that's super hard for people, isn't it? Just to sit and listen.
Yeah. And you listen and you listen and you listen. And you'll see the spot. You'll click on the spot on your logging software. Your radio goes there and boom. You don't even know if that's the right call sign. You just kind of have and then you just start throwing your call out. And this is the one that drives me kind of a little batty. It's like they'll make the contact and go, "What's your call again?" And they'll ask the station, to repeat their call. And it's like, you should have known that before you even called.
Yeah, I hate that.
And that just
one would think
that just shows that you're not listening. Listen. Verify the station you're going to call. And you got time. You're not in a big hurry. This is not a contest. This is just a special event or a de-expedition or whatever. It's just listen and verify it. And there's times I've listened to it and I go, I think that's what that guy, their accent is thick. The signal is weak. And I'll double check and it's like, okay, they're spotted. This is their call. And then I'll listen again. And I'm okay. That's the right call sign. And then eventually someone will go, well, what's your call again? And they'll go back and forth and trying to get the guy's call. And it turns into a cluster. And but that's the basic thing, is listen. The more you listen, the better you are. And like I've always said, if you can't hear them, you can't work them. So, but there's people that just throw out their call, hoping that they will be heard and go from there. And if you do call a station, say your call once. That's all you got to do. Just full call signs. Don't say your suffix. Don't do the last 2 letters of your call, the last 3 letters. Full call sign. Only once. That's all you need to do. You don't need to repeat it. And if you use phonetics, use the standard phonetics that we use. Don't make up some special, catchy phrase, because most operators are not going to understand that. It's cutesy on FM, and on the repeaters, but on the HF bands, it's just stay with the standard phonetics that we use on HF.
So no more King Zero, Shake the House during the contest.
Shake the
Okay,
House
got
or
it.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, Stairway to Heaven. No, Sweeter Than Honey. What was that? Sweeter Than Honey. Sweeter than honey. No, I'm yelling them out. You know, I feel bad for the. You hear this a lot, like what you guys were just talking about. When I know you're not listening, and they know you're not listening, it's like you tipped your hand. We know now you were not paying attention. You just jumped in here. I was just passing by. When it's a contest and they don't have like their section, they don't have the exchange. You're just 5'9" and whatever. And then the guy's like, I need your section. Because to him, it's a contest. And then they have to kind of slow it down. And they're very graceful. You know, the contest, the guys running the stations and girls to go, I need your section. You know, what state are you in? What section? Like we got to break it down because I've already started to input you. I've got to help get you through this. But, you know, you're calling in the middle of a contest and you're giving a 5'9" report. You don't know the exchange, and you look like a total D-bag. I'm sure you're not, but you kind of being douchebaggery in there, you know? So
Don't know the exchange, don't know the call sign of the person they're calling.
What was your call again, buddy? Like, dude is ripping, and it's recorded, you know? Like, he keeps playing it over and over and over again.
Oh, man.
Go ahead. You got a story. Go ahead and play.
Oh, no. I was just with the pre-recorded calls and the people with the voice processors and associating the contest just over and over. And then you try to call them and they're not listening. So they would take a leak or something while they're just letting their CQ call on the radio.
I guess he just left. One more question, then I want to kind of transition into another side of this, and we'll kind of pause again. Should this event just be the 13 colonies? Does it need to be beyond that? Do we need the Great Britain? I get it. I'm not on either side. So just a question. Just a question. Should we stick to the 13 colonies? Do we need the bonus? Steve, what do you think?
Yeah.
It's
kind of cool. I mean, initially it was just the 13 colonies, and then they added the bonus stations here the last few years. So I think it's awesome. I think it's great, but it's you know, they're running, you know, the special event, and they're making basically the rules, and I think it's awesome. I was just happy to work the 13 colonies, just get the states, not so much for the bonus stations, but it's been quite a few years since I got a chance to work 13 colonies, and when I did, I just concentrated on the 13 colonies. The propagation kind of sucked the last time I went for it, so I could never even hear the station in Great Britain. And then I think the last 2 years they've had the French station, but I think it's awesome personally. But my focus has been with the 13 colonies.
Scotty, what do you think?
I love the event, and yeah, definitely the 13 colonies for sure. I enjoy the bonus stations, and it started with Philly, and then they added the Great Britain station, and then I think it was last year they added the French station. I enjoy the bonus stations, and it's just one of those things. It's like the icing on the cake. I got the 13 colonies, and being right in the middle of the 13 colonies, it's not too difficult to get the 13 colonies from my location, but getting the bonus station overseas, that more of a challenge, and that was part of the fun for me as well, and the frustration, but that's also part of the fun.
If you are in with us here live tonight as we record, give us a yes or no. Do you think the bonus stations should remain or just stick to the original 13? Yes for bonus, no for no bonus. Let us know. Talk about it in a minute. And if you're looking for a power solution, check out Bioenno Power, offering the best lithium phosphate batteries for your ham radios. Visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNO power.com. There are some ham fests still going on, and one that I wish I was around for. Scotty, let them know what's going on in terms of ham fests.
All right, Hamfest's happening this weekend coming up, July 15th, 16th, and 17th. We have at the Glacier Waterton Hamfest in Montana State. The Montana State Convention, ARRL sponsored event. On July 16th, the Mega Fest in Monument, Colorado. I think that's sponsored by the Pikes Peak Amateur Radio Clubs. That's cool. I love that part of Colorado. And then for us East Coasters, there's the Sussex County Ham Fest in Augusta, New Jersey. I'm sure that'll be kind of fun. It's right near the Armory, the military, up there in North Sussex County.
Very good. Augusta.
So that's what's happening there. Augusta.
The results of the impromptu poll are coming in, and overwhelmingly, Steve-O, people are saying, yes, we want to keep bonuses in there. So there you go. They're all coming in. David, he says, yes, sir. Add stations in Puerto Rico and Guam just for funsies. I don't know about that. Paul, Big Paul, Paulie Walnuts, he says yes. James also says yes. Greg. And I Blurg, that's a bonus. And hello to you, Bruce. Bruce made me this wonderful call sign made out of oak, and I think he made it out of a barrel that held either the gunpowder or something. I may have that wrong, but Bruce says yes. Rich says yes. Don, Big Ben says yes. So people definitely here joining us want to keep those bonus stations in. Let's turn our attention to being on the other side. I wouldn't say veterans of the pile up or anything like that, although we have a popular net on Sunday nights, and we give you live coverage on the YouTube channel. Steve, when we talk about working as the net controller for a special event station, and you've got coming at you. You are the prettiest girl at the prom, or you're the prom queen, and you just look so damn good. Oh, I turned into Randy Macho Man Savage. What are some of the things you should think about when you volunteer to be that station to run on an event like 13 stations? Because you don't even have to have power. You could be one of the stations running 100 watts, but participating as a net control for a special event. Some thoughts on that, what operators could do to make it easier on themselves and others. Controlling the pileup, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, controlling the pileup is a big factor. Having patience and being consistent. And so if you have someone that is kind of just interrupting, there's a couple of ways of handling it. And one is to ignore that person, and they'll just keep on calling. But the thing is, you got to ignore them. What you're doing by acknowledging them as they're interrupting, you are rewarding them. And then that sets the tone for others to go, oh, well, that a-hole got in there, so I'm going to be an a-hole and do the same thing that a-hole did. And it just compiles and compiles and compiles. I try to avoid, ignore them and work around it, but then there's times it becomes really difficult. And some of it is cultural. That I found, especially with DX stations, that they're very insistent, and it's like, oh, I'm going to break my rule. I'm going to work them because I want to get rid of them and get them worked, get them in the log, get them out of the way. The problem is, and then I'm like, oh, fudge, I've just now opened up the Pandora's box. And but for controlling the pileup, and the one thing for me is if someone just comes in with a partial call, I just ignore it, unless it's just they're the only ones there, and then I'll reinforce that full call signs, please. Or I'll ignore them for a couple of times, and then I'll just throw out full call signs and then continue working on. So the operator sets the tone, and how you go and how you control the pileup will dictate whether you're going to have an easy night or you're going to have a frustrated night. And it's just so it's a tough one, especially being on that side, and everybody's coming at you, and you already have your hands full just trying to pick out stations and trying to I try to listen through the pileup, try to listen for a specific person or a call, and then focus in on that. And then sometimes I'll work somebody else, but I still got this other call in mind, but I don't have a full call sign yet. But I remember the voice, and then just try to pick that out and go from there. So and concentrate on that. So it's tough, especially when when you're doing that. Your ego starts to come into play, because it's like, look at me, I'm the star, I'm it, look at me. And you can't let that get to you. You just gotta just work it and go from there. We all want to accomplish the same thing.
You got to work it. Let's work it.
And we got to work it. And so when you're working, special event stations, DX or whatever, they want to talk to you as badly as you want to talk to them. And so it's a balance that we got to go through. But as the net control operator or the special event station, you set the tone, and you will make it or break it. And it's you'll reap what you sow. There we go.
Yeah, and that advice right there,
fire
is fire. Let's talk about something real quick, because I want to play devil's advocate with you just a little bit here in this, and I want to get the people who have come in the audience to participate as well. Another yes or no type of question, and it's not coming from, it's just coming from a question. I'm curious. It always helps when net control operators on our side, although not all of our net control operators run power. When you're running 100 watts and you've got a pile up like that of, say, 13 colonies, what have you, I mean, I guess the question is, should these stations be stations that are picked because they run power? I know the gut instinct is like, no, everybody should be inclusive, and you know me, I'm all about that inclusion. But, I mean, controlling a pile up like those in 13 colonies on 100 watts has got to be really difficult. Any thoughts on that? Scotty, you'll be up next too, but Steve, what do you think about the benefits of power and maybe not having power when running huge pileups? We're talking massive pileups on some of this stuff.
The benefits of the power is most people will hear you, and then they can follow your instructions. If you're working splits or if you're working by the numbers, you can. It's easier for them to hear you. When you're running 100 watts, it's as long as we got good propagation and depending on your antenna system, people might have a hard time hearing you. Depending, it's not just because you run 100 watts means that you're not going to be heard. It makes it tough, and ideally you want to be heard. And that way you can be understood, and your instructions can be, heeded. But not everybody can run power, and I understand that. So
I want everybody to participate, but you know how hard that is? It's hard to control the maestro when the station's calling you have more than you have going out. So I feel for those ops. I don't think it's impossible. Scotty, I know you've run our net on 100 watts. You've done, stuff on the digital side as well. We ran a net together a week or so ago. Any tips for running 100 watts? I mean, now, doing pileups, so you're out POTA, handling them out there with lower power, a lot of people chasing you. What are some of the things you do?
Oh yeah, so with I have just 100 watts. I don't have an amp. I'd like to get one day. As Steve was saying, with the propagation, if it's working in your favor, it's stations are hearing you fairly clearly, and you can kind of, as long as there's not complete and total lawlessness, you can kind of keep things in check and slow people down, run by the numbers if you have to. On a night with crappy propagation and running 100 watts, and you have big stations coming at you, trying to get back out to them so other folks can hear what's going on. What if I'm calling CQ? Did I call a station? I think that could probably be a real problem. But again, not having an amp, I don't know if that would fix that for me. I haven't been on that side of it yet.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's more of a hypothetical question or just a thought. I want everybody to be included, to be on that side of the pile up. It's very exciting. I mean, I guess you could probably get a weird ego thing out of it, but you really have to be sharp with 100 watts and people piling in, because all hell could break loose. Frankly, I've heard it. I've been, in the early days, I mean, we're talking 7 years ago now, when Steve and I started up the 100 watts and a wire Sunday evening net. He had power and I didn't. I had a D104 Lollipop and I had the Drake TR7, and I was like, Kilo Zero Sierra Tango. And I had the benefit of being flanked by a couple of power stations that could, number one, help me pull things out. You'll hear Steve on a Sunday night say, stand by. Somebody's working, somebody's calling in, break. And here I am with 100 watts. I sound like I'm down the hallway. I'll be right with you guys. And so Steve's like, hey, man, can you just back off? He's working. So I know what it feels like to be when they're coming in at you and you can't really take care of the crowd. I hope that makes some sense to you. But I admire the 100 watt stations. I think if the Great Britain station was running no power, which he wasn't super loud to me at any time, kind of low, and I was like, I wonder if he is running power. Maybe he's not, but it was like 5. And I'm like, man, how do you pick it out and control the room when it just seems so far away? Anyway, I hope some of that helps you. It helps me to listen and to be reminded about operating practices. We know what to do. I like to kind of wait it out. I like to let the big guns go in quick, like Paulie Walnuts, who's dragging them all over. And he's like, let's add 2 or 3 more to it. Yes, we are jealous. We're out there working on the Schuylkill on the highway or whatever. And, he's like casually clipping them off. I'm like, oh, man, I want to go home. But anyway, I don't know what my point was. I lost my train of thought.
And that's one of the keys is like a special event station. If it's only going to be there for a couple hours or one day, then there's a little bit of a kind of urgency to try to get them in your log and get them worked. But a lot of them, like 13 Colonies, it's a week-long event. It's 7 days. And so there's, kind of ample opportunity. Chances, there could be a chance that maybe the Maryland station's only on, for a few hours a night or day, and it makes it tough. And then there's the urgency there. But typically, some of these bigger events and de-expeditions and things like that, it's just, and I do it. I just let the big guns and the impatient people in the beginning just go for it, battle it out, get it done, get it out of your system, get it in the log. That way you can go around boasting, hey, I worked them, look at me, and all this other stuff. And it's like, okay. And then wait a couple of days when the dust settles down a little bit, and then just start clipping them off and go from there. And but, we have busy lives. We have our families. We have, work. We have other things going on. So, everybody's situation is different. So I kind of, like I said in the beginning, this is a hobby. Let's, relax, take it easy. If you get it, great. All the power to you. If you don't, then come back and say, okay, what can I do better? What can I do different? Look at it as a challenge. It's like, okay, I didn't get a chance to work on what can I do? What did I do wrong? Or what deficiency am I having here? Is the antenna system? Is my receiver? Do I need to, make changes here, make changes there, and go from there? And it's like, well, just get an amplifier, Steve. Well, not everybody can get an amplifier. And so let's push that out of the way. But there's a lot of things we can do to to be successful. As Scotty pointed out, finding their pattern. Everybody has a pattern, and you'll start to notice that if you listen long enough, and this goes back to listening. If you listen long enough to the operator, you're going to find a pattern and just start noting. It's like, that guy he doesn't get the guys in the very beginning. He's more or less gets the tail enders. And what do I mean by a tail ender? It's like if everyone, woo, baby, is they jump on it right when he unkeys and call QRZ, and bam, and then you wait maybe 2 or 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and then you throw your call out. As the pileup starts to diminish, then boom, there's your signal. He hears your call. That's the one they remember and it's like, oh, okay. Then they work you and go from there. I do a lot of tail ending because it seems to work. Now, if you have a really experienced operator, they'll ignore the tail enders. They'll go for the people. So this is the pattern you got to figure out of the operator that you're working with. When they're working split, that's a whole different story. That's another realm of trying to figure out their pattern. But let's just stay on, a simplex special event station, and just once you figure out that pattern that the operator's doing, you'll be pretty successful within a few calls.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest tip. It's just listen, learn their pattern, and then you can get in.
All right. Well, very good. Look at this. We've made it to the end here. I hope some of that has helped you. I want to congratulate the Rochester Amateur Radio Association, you guys, 90th Hamfest. Their 90th
Nice.
Hamfest just happened. So good for them. That's awesome. Also, want to let you know that Sunday night, 7 o'clock Central, we have our Sunday evening net. We have sometimes digital, sometimes 20, sometimes 40, but we're always usually there unless it's a high holiday like Mother's Day, usually something like that. We take off and celebrate moms. Question for you guys listening. We want to know what you're struggling with. The link to contact us is in the description below the podcast, and let us know what you're struggling with, and maybe we can help you. I noticed a lot of frustration this week coming out of the special event. The people weren't using good practices, so I figured we'd spend this time to talk about all sides of it, and hopefully that was good for you. Did we forget anything, guys? Did we miss anything? Did we mess anything up?
Just don't let the a-holes, win, and don't let them. Don't show them that you're sweating. Just and ignore them, and they'll go away. They're just looking for attention, and they're mentally defective because they want to ruin people are enjoying themselves. They're enjoying the hobby, and they're not enjoying themselves or the hobby, and they just want to ruin it for everybody. So the best thing is don't give them any attention, ignore them, and work around them. It is hard. It is tough, but you can do it.
Mentally defective. We'll leave you on that one. That one is coming from Steve-O. He's welcome back. He's in the saddle. He's mentally defective. Send him back to the maker. Well, I don't know what he's saying, but boy, that was something else. There you go. Well, 7-3, my brothers, it was so nice to see you again, Steve, and have you here and give us balance back to our show. Scotty, thank you for sitting in and listening to my dribble all these weeks as we went through. It was very helpful to have you around.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And to our listening audience, we appreciate you. That's why we're here, and we invite you every Sunday to join us live. If you can get here, come on in. We're around. You can watch on YouTube. Jump into the chat. Let us know what's going on, and let us know what you're struggling with. We want to talk about that too. 73, my brothers, you all be good.
73, everyone.
Welcome back, Steve.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsinaWire.com.